Well, we also want to pick in and get views from the business community, and who best to speak to other than the chair of the Kenya National Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and that is Kiprono Kitoni, who joins us now live here from our Mombasa Road studios. Many thanks for making time.
Thank you, Agina.
Of course, the business community has been waiting with bated breath after months of waiting. Perhaps, where does this place Kenya's economy with the verdict out?
I think, Agina, before I even respond to your question, let me start by congratulating the President and the Deputy President-elect. I think the Supreme Court of the land has this morning pronounced itself on the second election. I must say this has been probably one of the most challenging years that this country has faced. I mean, we have in the past gone through difficult times politically, but perhaps this is one of the most singularly difficult years politically because of what happened in the first election being nullified by the Supreme Court, the extended electioneering period,
yes.
Coupled with other extraneous factors such as the interest rate cap that has crowded out the SMEs and denied credit to the SMEs. Many of the major corporates in this country have been going through systemic failures, and by this I talk about the NACOMATs.
Yeah.
Companies like Kenya Airways have faced challenges, Uchumi, the same. There's been delayed payments by both the national and the county governments that has also precipitated a cash crunch. So for me, I think that the decision this morning marks the ability for the nation to turn a new leaf. And it is our hope that after the president is sworn in next week, it will be an opportunity for him also to unify this country, which is at the moment really split down the middle.
Sure. So looking at where the business community has been, of course, we've seen KEPSA saying that the economy lost about 700 billion. The NSE was also hard hit, where we did see the 20-share index falling down. And where does this take the economy next?
I think there is no doubt. I mean, I wouldn't know the source of KEPSA's figures. I mean, we haven't been able to get the Central Bureau of Statistics to share with us the real losses that the economy has suffered. But there is no doubt that there has been a huge loss of business. And there is no doubt that as a country, we've lost a lot of opportunity. There's been a lot of anxiety, there's been pain, there has been grief, there has been joy, there's been exhaustion and fatigue by the political actors, there's been sorrow by those who've lost people through the skirmishes post the elections.
Yes.
But it is correct to say that the economy has borne the greatest brunt of what we are going through now. And, there has been a wait-and-see attitude adopted by the donors. There's been a reduction in foreign direct investment. Surprisingly, we are also hearing that there is a reduction even in diaspora remittances. So we are just going into the festive month of December, and it is really my hope that the leadership of this country, both in the government and the opposition, will see this festive month as an opportunity to really bridge that big gap that divides us and really work towards having a 2018 that brings Kenyans together. I want to say that as a Chamber of Commerce, we've been very deliberate about being very balanced in our opinions. I mean, I saw last week that we were criticized by one or two columnists. But I want to say categorically that we have actually made sure that we have focused on issues business only. We've kept away from the matters political for the obvious reason that the country is divided into two. And within the host of political activity that was taking place in the country, there was a space for us to really advocate on issues that affect business, which is exactly what we've done. And you know that the Chamber is different from KEPSA and other organizations because we are a grassroots organization. We are in all the 47 counties. So in everything that I say as the national chairman, I must be cognizant of the fact that I have members of the Chamber who are on both sides of the political divide.
All right.
And we really are calling upon the leadership this time to try to use this opportunity that has been given to them to bridge the gap in this country.
All right, and Kiprono, you've been out and about across the continent and trying to push investors to come back home. Perhaps where does this put Kenya on the global map, a country that was considered the beacon of hope, beacon of stability, going through an election being nullified, and institutions coming across as being independent and a maturity in the sense that how businesses conduct themselves. Where do we stand right now on the international map?
Firstly, Kenya is a nation of many firsts. The annulment of the first election was a first. In fact, I think it was a second globally. So it was the first in the continent of Africa that a Supreme Court could annul the election of an elected president. The thing that I would say with no fear of contradiction is that Kenya has earned its place over the passage of time as a leading light economically in the continent of Africa. And I want to say that we have fledgling institutions that we need to protect jealously, and by that I mean the IEBC. We have the Supreme Court, we have Parliament, we have the judiciary, and we need to just ensure that all these institutions are working and delivering on their mandates. I have no doubt whatsoever that, these challenges that we faced in the recent past will only strengthen our resolve and will only make Kenya even a more preferred destination for foreign direct investment, to know that we have a judiciary that works. And I really am confident that the political class will find their level and that there will be rapprochement, because we have a very strong opposition. We have a government that is elected by majority. And really, we just need to find a way to bridge the ethnic tensions that have developed over this last period of time. But I don't doubt that economically we will find our feet, and next year will be a year for new opportunities and new prospects for the country.
Interesting. And Kiprono, where the opposition leader stands from is that his position is this government is illegitimate. And of course, this has far-reaching implications, especially on trade partners between Kenya and other countries. Looking at this dicey situation we are in, what perhaps will the business community be advocating for, especially to opposition diehards?
I would not even say that our message is to opposition diehards. Our message is to the political class in general, that we have a nation, it's a going concern, and we need to ensure that it is continuing to thrive and to prosper and to deliver to its people. I think we have a country that we must protect. We have a territory, we have a sovereign nation here that really is going through significant challenges. And for us, I think we need to see leadership. If ever there was a time in Kenya that we want to see leadership, it is now. And our call to them is that whatever actions, whatever rhetoric, whatever activities they engage in to push their agenda, that we must ensure that those are done within the confines of the law. Let us resort to the institutions that have been mandated by the people of Kenya as provided by the Constitution. The Supreme Court has pronounced itself on this matter. The opposition leader, Raila Odinga, has got his issues. He's raised a lot of concerns about the IEBC, and I also agree that going forward, these institutions need to be looked at. I mean, they need to be interrogated in terms of their own efficacy and their own, a lot of funding was given to the IEBC, and even the annulment of the first elections raises serious and fundamental questions. But I think I would like to look at it in the context of a bigger need in this country. I mean, it's probably almost 10 years since the new constitution was promulgated, and there's nothing wrong in going to the drawing board. And I do hope that the political leaders will see the need to call a referendum to address critical issues in the new constitution. We have the resources, the wherewithal to have all 47 counties. I'm very much a big supporter of devolution, but do we have the ability to sustain that magnitude of overhead? I mean, the independence of the institutions that we have, the processes that we use to appoint people to these institutions, we need to interrogate all this against the backdrop of what we've gone through in 2017.
All right. And looking at the bigger picture, now that we are past this political cloud for now, what will be shaping the agenda for the business community, especially as a chamber, bearing in mind that there are still calls for boycott for various services and goods? What is in the horizon at the end of the day?
I think three things. One is, you see, we've had a massive, significant improvement in our ease of doing business index. But having said that, let's not forget that we have SMEs that are suffering. We know that many SMEs closed shop last year. We need to really address how we're going to strengthen, improve capacity of these SMEs. My agenda number one will be SMEs. The agenda number two will be SMEs. Agenda number three will be SMEs. Thereafter, we could, we need to look at the competitiveness of our country. I'm glad to note that the Ministry of Trade has this week come up with an export drive. As a nation also, we need to look at our balance of trade. We need to ensure that we are really competitively positioning our core exports like coffee, tea, and tourism. We need to have a strong value proposition. I have previously challenged the county government of Mombasa, and I do so again today. We need to have Mombasa as a world-class tourist destination. We need, when you arrive and land in the city of Mombasa, you go into that place, you don't see huge garbage heaps and etc. Let's make these tourist destinations that are world-class. We need to position, the things that God has given us, Masai Mara, in the front of the agenda. We need to value add our coffee and our tea, our horticulture.
All right.
Yeah.
And final question, perhaps, what do you think the president is thinking of right now after this verdict, especially from a point of building alliances and also moving the country forward?
I don't know specifically what the president will be thinking about, but I do know that for sure he will be concerned about the legacy that he leaves at the end of his term in 2021. And in that, I think it is incumbent upon him to leave a legacy of a united country, to have a country. I'm sure in that agenda he'll be looking at how to bridge the ethnic divide that has now crossed, that is now in this country. And I'm sure he would want in these last 5 years to really strengthen the institutions that we depend on in the Constitution.
All right. Many thanks, Kiprono Kitoni.
Thank you very much.
Pleasure hosting you. Just giving us his views and the direction the business community will be taking after the verdict. He sounds quite optimistic that there will be a rebalancing of the economy moving forward, and investor confidence is gradually coming back to Kenya.